Helga Rhein is a GP in Sighthill Health Centre in Edinburgh and a member of Lothian's Deprived Interest Group, which is affiliated to GPs at the Deep End. She previously worked at the Access Practice and Muirhouse Medical Group. Whilst at Muirhouse, Helga was actively involved in the development of a community food initiative at the Pilton Community Health Project. During the time in the Access Practice, a letter to the BMJ led to a successful scheme in Edinburgh to provide homeless people with push bikes. About 12 years ago, she led a successful campaign to establish peer support groups for GPs, presently benefiting 40 GPs in Edinburgh. More recently, Helga has become aware of health problems due to widespread vitamin D deficiency, which led her to research the subject. She is now campaigning to have the public informed about the need to take supplements and GPs to recommend or prescribe them. Hello Helga.
Hello Elizabeth.
Thank you for having this interview. Now, when did you get interested in vitamin D?
About 10-12 years ago, when I stumbled across severe vitamin D deficiency in my patients, which I initially thought was just a problem for South Asian patients, but soon learned that a huge majority of my patients were deficient.
And you got these findings published?
Yes, I've got it here in the BMJ. That was a few years ago. The first 100 bloods I had taken for vitamin D, I recorded, and they were published in there. And astonishingly, about 50% of those bloods had levels below the lowest possible cutoff, 25 nanomole per liter, and I think about 80% had levels below 50 nanomole per liter, which is a kind of more wide accepted cutoff for normality.
Now, research suggests that Scotland has a particular problem in terms of vitamin D levels.
Yes, that's definitely clear, and presumably largely due to our climate here, where
No sun.
That's right, no sun, and lots of wind and rain. That means even if it is a reasonably good day, we might go outdoor long sleeved because of wind and rain.
And of course, people who cover up for cultural reasons, and Asian people with darker skin,
they'll be worse. There will be the vast majority of them are deficient unless they take a supplement or unless they go out in the sun much more. A skin which has more darker pigment needs more time outside in the sun to produce enough vitamin D, which is produced in the skin.
And what about supplementing? What sort of doses do you suggest for people?
Well, that's a good question, because the present recommendation is for everyone just to take this tiny dose of 400 international units, which is a baby dose. This is the dose which the whole of Europe prescribes to babies. It's not sufficient for someone who is 10 times as heavy or 20 times as heavy than a baby, and you really need more if you're an adult, older, it's to do with weight and size. So I would normally prescribe 2,000 or 3,000 international units per day for an adult, same amount for pregnant women, but those who need even more because they've got an ongoing condition, inflammatory condition, cancers, etc., people often need double that amount.
And you didn't mention breastfeeding as well.
Yeah, because we're all more or less deficient, certainly those who live in Scotland, a breastfeeding mother also, unless she takes a lot of supplements, will not have vitamin D in her breast milk. So particularly breastfed babies should be given the baby dose, 400 international units, 10 microgram.
And what about the mother? Should she also be taking vitamin D?
I certainly prescribe it. Yes, breastfeeding mothers should also take vitamin D. There has been research done in America. If you take a large amount of dose, about 6,000 international units for the breastfeeding mother, her milk will be sufficient with vitamin D. But if you don't take quite as much, I prescribe 2,000 for breastfeeding mother. The baby should also have vitamin D as a supplement.
Why is it so important to take vitamin D during pregnancy and breastfeeding?
Well, it is in early childhood that most of our health, or many of our health outcomes are laid down. Many studies have been done where clear-cut evidence exists, observational, that sufficiency in vitamin D in pregnancy and early childhood is linked to MS, is linked to autism. It appears to be linked to other mental health problems, and it's even linked to developing type 1 diabetes later in life. We don't know about cardiovascular disease, etc., many other aspects as well. So a very, very important aspect, I would think, is to have sufficient vitamin D in pregnancy and early childhood. And sufficiency would mean, to me, in pregnancy at least to take 2,000 international units. Probably we need more, but that is how much I prescribe in the practice to my pregnant
Yeah, I think
ladies.
that's the Canadian health
Recommendation.
authorities, yes.
Yeah, the Canadian Pediatric Society has recommended that.
And do you think that there should be more and more research, or there is more and more research suggesting linking vitamin D deficiency with lots of diseases, for example, MS?
There already is lots of research which is observational. All these studies have different names.
And observational, just to explain perhaps about that.
Well, people criticize and say that because it's only observational, it could be that it's not the vitamin D which helps your health. But there are also very good research papers arguing the case for what is called the Bradford-Hill criteria, which is a set of so many criteria, and if they are fulfilled, it proves causality. So there is a lot of research out there, in my eyes, perfectly sufficient to recommend and provide it to my patients, this extremely safe substance. I say extremely safe in those kind of recommended doses. Of course, one could overdose if you take mega doses daily for several months. But that every substance is possible to overdose with.
And are GPs generally prescribing, or do you recommend people just buy the products?
I would recommend both. The Food Standard Agency in Scotland has found about 2 years ago that 47%, so approximately half of the people who live in deprived areas are severely deficient, meaning they have blood levels below 25 nanomole per liter. I find that an embarrassing fact that public health has not acted upon this. So those areas particularly should be targeted for recommending GPs to prescribe to their patients. But equally, as you say, it is easy to buy, so I think the least we should do is inform the public, inform people who live in Scotland that they are at high risk of having too low vitamin D levels in their blood.
And I think Scotland generally, and particularly west of Scotland, the health of the nation is such that let's do something if possible to help. And we as enthusiasts of vitamin D suggest that's the thing you should do. If there's nothing else, is definitely make sure you are getting some vitamin D, whether it's your GP or in fact buying it. So definitely supplement.
It is not an expensive supplement. It is safe. So even if there is a minute doubt about whether it really is of value or not, I think the on balance it is so clear and stares you in the face, especially as you say if you consider the many unexplained high disease
incidents, absolutely,
prevalence which we have in Scotland.
So tell me, Helga, if someone is actually diagnosed with cancer, are you suggesting to start taking vitamin D right away?
I certainly would think there is a good point. It's a very valuable thing to do to make sure you have sufficient high level of vitamin D in your blood once you've been diagnosed with cancer, because you need to mobilize all your defense and your immune system, which is highly influenced by having sufficient vitamin D in your body. You need to mobilize your immune system to fight against the cancer. And we have seen great results in our general practice by making sure that people who have newly been diagnosed with a new cancer, that their blood levels are high with vitamin D. They usually need the double dose of what everyone else gets, and I test their bloods, so it's surely high enough. And they seem to have an excellent quality of life, and I can't say any more. I'm waiting desperately for more research to happen in this field. Anecdotally, it's brilliant, and I don't think you can go much wrong with it.
Well, we need more people like you, I think, Helga, on the vitamin D mission.
And you.
Thank you very much for talking with me today. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.